I'm delighted to be able to bring you our November International Update. Just a few weeks ago, our leadership team, the IEC, were in China, and it was thrilling to hear from Chinese Christian leaders of the continuing growth of the church in that vast nation. In one city, we were told that 10 years ago, there were hardly any house churches in the whole city. Today, there are tens of thousands of house churches in that one city, and we were informed that within 1 kilometre of where we were meeting, there were 100 house churches. It's just incredible to think of what God has done and continues to do in that nation. You've probably heard that the Chinese church now has a huge missionary vision. They want to send thousands of Chinese missionaries out in the coming years. And we were there to talk about ways in which we might be able to partner with them to help them fulfill this vision they believe God has given to them. So we'd appreciate your prayers as we continue to work with Chinese Christian leaders to see if a partnership really will be for the benefit of God's kingdom. We were also talking about Latin America for quite a long time whilst we met together. Another huge area of potential for world mission. To be honest, OM's work in Latin America has been pretty thin over the last few years. We haven't been able to invest in the continent in the way that we would have liked to. So the infrastructure of our ministry has always been very weak. And we decided during the days we were meeting to really up our investment in that continent in the next few years. Please pray that we'll have wisdom as to how best we can do that, and that we'll be able to see some of the potential for world mission from this continent where again the church is growing so rapidly, some of that potential released for the glory of God around the world. Another big issue as we met together was the discussion concerning my successor. You've probably heard that in August 2013, the plan is that I will stand down from this role as International Co-ordinator. We've got a nominations committee in place under the chairmanship of David Greenley, and nominations are now coming in for the person to replace me and for the small leadership team that will work together in the future. Please pray that God will lead through this process to the right individual and the right leadership team to take OM forward in the next stage of its development. Now just a few stories from around the OM world. I mentioned Latin America, a continent with great potential for world mission, but continuing needs in the continent itself. And let's go first to Argentina and to the town of Villa Gladino. They wanted to do some work in the town square because many people were afraid to cross the door of the church. So they asked our team from Cordoba to give some help, and they began with children's meetings in the town square, and many children came and adults came along with their family. And the good news is that since that special outreach, the pastor tells us that a number of the adults are continuing to attend church on a regular basis. Just one example of the many short-term missions that OM teams around the world have been able to get involved in over the past months. Talking about short-term missions, it is incredible the skills and abilities that can be used for God around the world. Come with me now to Lake Tanganyika in Zambia, and an English couple, George and Maria, who went out there for a 3-week visit. She's a swimming teacher. He's actually a personal fitness instructor. And he was wanting to get alongside the people there around Lake Tanganyika. And he actually used some of his ability as a personal trainer, teaching the locals how to push weights and so on. And he found that he could really get alongside the men as he trained them in this way. It is amazing the skills, the abilities, the training that God can use in his work around the world. I want to move on now to Russia and to an amazing work which has been going on there for a number of years. It's the Discipleship Training Centre. It started in a 4-roomed flat 5 years ago. They now have a very good building in which to carry on this ministry. And they've just celebrated 5 years of the ministry, and many graduates of the training school came back for this 5-year anniversary. These young men, many of them from very rough backgrounds, have come to Christ. They've been trained in the Discipleship Training Centre, and it was wonderful to see how many of them are serving God around the world. Some are serving as pastors, some are serving as drug rehab workers, some are church planting, others have actually gone out with OM around the world. This is a very effective ministry for which I would really encourage your prayers. 20 young people were accepted into the next course in the Discipleship Training Centre there in Russia. Appreciate your prayers for this extremely effective ministry. Let me just share one further OM ministry with you and then speak about one intermission event. I want to talk to you about Bangladesh, a country very much on my heart. 165 million people living, of course, in a relatively small area, an area of the world often struck by natural disasters, huge poverty issues. Day labourers earn $2 a day on average, while office workers with IT skills can earn up to about $8 a day. We have the opportunity to have 4 centres in Bangladesh where we train approximately 100 students every 3 months in courses which give basic computer and internet skills, instill high standards of work, demonstrate good working relationship, and about 80% of the students who join in those courses find good employment within 12 months. Nert was not finding life easy. She'd been involved in an early divorce situation. She had poor job prospects, and she got involved in one of these 3-month courses. She'd never touched a computer until she arrived. She says, "What I experienced was incredible. For the first time in my life, I was working with people who had a different attitude and behavior. They really cared, they really listened, and they really helped. This spoke volumes into my life and has changed me." And that's the testimony of our work in Bangladesh. People who've come into these courses have found something different, and many have found Christ. And little churches have been established, often in association with these training centres. So we appreciate your prayers, your giving for this ongoing work in Bangladesh. Over the new year, into 2012, MissionNet will be meeting again in Europe, a large missions conference which will take place in Germany. The prayer is that about 3,500 young people will attend this mission challenge and training conference. OM is involved in various ways, and the team who are filming this little interview right now are heavily involved, giving huge logistical support to that conference. Appreciate your prayers for it. Appreciate your prayers for many last-minute applications to attend this conference, that God will really use those who are speaking, and that many will know God's call on their lives during those days of conference. Well, on behalf of 6,100 workers in more than 110 countries around the world, I'd like to thank you for your continuing prayers for us. Speak to you again in December or in November for December. God bless you, and thanks for your prayers.